Hi everyone, Genevieve Matthews from The Art of Extraordinary here. Welcome. Want to take a few moments and talk you through what's happening in the world of leadership right now, what's working really well, what needs to be done a little bit differently, and how it's impacting businesses. So thanks for joining me. And if you're watching the replay of this, listen, post your questions in and I'll get back to you with some answers. So let's take a quick moment. I'm going to share my screen for you because I've been working with leaders lately and here's what we've been learning. Let's take a look. So what I've got here is the Maximizer plan, which is what I've been working clients through and really helping them with their leadership at the moment. So we're going to play with this today because there's some really interesting things that are coming up. Now, firstly, we won't talk maximizing yet. I want to really help you understand the status, the stages, I guess, where businesses are at right now. And here's what's being noticed. We have a variety, as you'll be aware yourself, of businesses at the moment that are really stuck. Let's get this pencil going. They're stuck, okay? We've got businesses at the moment that are struggling, okay? We've got businesses that are stabilizing, and maybe you are leading one at the moment. We've also got businesses right now that are actually really soaring and doing very, very well. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Let's talk what's going on more precisely. What's happening is there are businesses that with people issues or what we call delivery issues. And that's the delivery of product and or services, okay, depending on your thing, what you and your team do. So for those businesses that are stuck, they've had to reduce staff, let go, stand down. They may be unable to deliver it all. Okay, there are certain industries right now completely restricted, so they're stuck, shut. Okay, and the feeling in there is a real sense of panic, as you can well imagine. Okay, the businesses that are struggling, they're still able to deliver, but likewise, because of cost expenses, they've had to reduce their numbers as well. So lost really great people, lost some really great talent potentially as well. And they're struggling then as a result to deliver on product and service. Also influenced by, governmental decisions at this time. But there are those that are struggling. Now they are really feeling the pressure, okay, at the moment, feeling very, very under pressured. For the businesses that are stabilising at the moment, okay, they realise that keeping their key people, keeping the resources is super important at the moment. And so they're what we're called in a purposeful state at the moment. They're being quite purposeful, okay? Not to say that it's easygoing by any means, okay? May well not able to be delivering very well. It's different. They've got to be doing it differently. It's still a bit clunky. Teams haven't necessarily got the hang of it. It's remote, potentially, or it's distanced, might be limited by industry again of what they can or can't do currently. Then we've got businesses right now that are absolutely soaring, okay? They're what we call pumping because their businesses are in demand, their products and services are in demand. They've kept people or they're hiring more people, okay? So within these four states at the moment, if you're listening to the replay, take a moment, please, and pop in the comments where you and the business or the team that you're leading are sitting currently, okay? Are you stuck, struggling, stabilising or soaring? Okay, really unique position points. And as a leader, each of these different position points is actually going to bring with it different challenges that you'll be facing right now. And I wanted to touch in on, I guess, what we call the three key challenges going on right now for leaders and how to maximize the situation and be able to really, turn the dial up if you need to on some of these resources or potentially shift the dial, okay? And this might be something that you may not need for yourself, okay? However, if you've got other leaders within the organization, maybe team leaders, supervisors, that really need some support and help on this, please take this information, share it with them, and really help empower them along the way as well. So let's have a look at this. The first piece that I want to give you is around the importance of frame. Okay, that's like our internal place. Frame is something very, very internal. And a lot of leaders are saying to me right now, whoa, it's full on, it's super intense and very immense, okay? The response to that is something that my beautiful mentor, Taki, shared with me, and that's really stop consuming and start creating. Because if you and your team and the business is really overwhelmed and consuming way too much of the noise, the media, what will happen is it drags you down, okay, literally, and it'll happen in waves across the day or weeks, okay? And we really want to make sure that you stay in a creative space, because that enables problem solving. It enables literally content to be created. It's ideas, it's thoughts, it's possibilities. Okay, so let's think about, instead of consuming, okay, at the moment, instead of consuming, I want you to really start creating. Be the creator. Let's go again with create, hey? Because that really changes your mindset for a few reasons. One, as you can imagine, because you're really customer, client focused. And that really shifts the creation. You're thinking more about creating for team, or you're thinking more creating for customer, client, okay, or for community, your tribe. All right. So they're the first things. Really think about shifting that frame. That's your internal frame. That's something that you're incredibly responsible for. Now, to support that piece, I want to talk about some really important resources right now that every leader needs to be maximizing. Because what's happening, we've got a lot of leaders that are feeling very weighed down. Okay, weighed down. What's going on right now is incredibly heavy. It's literally a feeling on shoulders. For some, it sits in a chest. I'm using my hands here, but you can't see much. Some, it sits in their gut, and it feels very, very heavy. It's also very tiring, okay? So they're feeling incredibly weighed down. And what we want to help you be able to do here is, instead of scaring team or potentially customers and clients, okay, always take that as a given with how we're talking, because whilst we are talking team, I want you to think about the impact and ripple to customer as well. Really care, okay? And that care is of self as much as the others in your community, all right? If you're not taking care of yourself first and foremost, it's really tough going to take care of others. So please, there's some really important strategies, and I'm going to definitely cover those as well. So instead of feeling weighed down, what we want you to feel is empowered, okay? And that power is your choice. You get to dial that up, you get to dial it down. That is your internal, it's like an internal dial, if you like, around feeling empowered. And the other, so that's the first piece, okay, is around really feeling that sense of empowerment. Let's have a look here. Put a good capital E on that one. All right, so empowered. So the reason that's a problem for leaders is it's really creating a lot of distraction. It's creating a lot of lack of focus within the business. It could be poor decision-making skills. It could be not able to delegate, okay? Not sleeping well at night, like really feeling that pressure, taking it home, perhaps even resorting to a lot of wine or beer, medication, maybe more, okay? So be very, very aware of how the choices that you're making, and the care that you can give yourself and others to feel empowered right now is super important. And again, we'll dive into more specifics in a minute. Let's take a look now at one of the other key areas. And that is the challenge that people are having, and I literally jumped off a call a moment ago, around managing remote teams. Oh my goodness. And what's going on here is this, and there's various measures of this. Not everyone is doing this, let me tell you, but we'll call it remote. I'm going to call it remote micromanaging in here. Okay. Now, what happens when people are doing remote micromanagement is meeting your own need for certainty through needing to check in, know, and do for others. Okay. And what that means sometimes is you can overdo it. Okay. It happens within the office spaces as well. But you can imagine now when people have left, it's like you can't see them. So you don't actually know what's going on. And there's a lot of leaders at the moment that are really caring for their team in a sense of, wow, they need to know how they're feeling every second, and not being able to see people, not being able to hear people in office means that you're not able to read physiology. Okay? There's a lot you can see and read and understand from people in the way they're communicating, not necessarily the words they're saying. And obviously with Zoom and other systems, Microsoft Teams, whatever your team's using, There'll be some of the communication, the non-verbal communication you can be seeing, but there may be stuff you're missing. So if you're tending to then over micromanage, that is going to bring about a real sense of lack of trust. That's going to really push boundaries for people because they're going to feel like, you don't trust me. Okay, I've got this, but you don't trust me. And it could lead to lower productivity, or it could lead to the flip. And I've heard of one lady that says she's working 10-hour days because she feels like she needs to prove herself to her boss. And so you go, wow, it can have the flip as well. Now, that might be good for a couple of days. It works when staff occasionally are working remotely. But what happens if this is an ongoing situation and staff are working in this remote system for weeks, months? Okay, you need to be very mindful around that management style that you're applying. So rather than thinking about remote micromanaging, okay, which often what happens, just because it creates a lot of confusion, gets a bit confusing for everyone. Let's put confusing in here. Mixed signals. I want you to really think about being compelling. And really compelling leadership style, okay, which is clarity. Okay, now the reason it's clarity is that imagine being a very compelling leader and you're very clear with the systems, okay? You're very clear with the rituals and routines team in place. You're clear with your communication. You're firm on your boundaries, okay? There's give and take. There's an understanding. There's clear measures in place. We're going to dive into some of those particular strategies to help you ensure at this stage, if there's an over or an under management style going on, what's your sweet spot for making sure that it works for you and each of your individual team members? Because again, people are unique, and what one might need, the other may not. Okay, so we'll explore that in more detail as well. Now, let's jump into our third piece here. And we're calling this tricky team members. Have you got any of those? Okay, tricky team members. Now, here's the thing. If this is relevant for you, you could insert client and customers here as well. You might find this quite useful. And I say tricky because you don't yet know them really well and you're not kind of sure what's exactly going on. Like you can see from the out that something's not right. And obviously with so much going on at the moment, there's a lot not right, okay? And there's a lot going on. We really want you to be able to decode the code, to read the patterns of behavior that are happening right now, because what it actually does is gives you an incredible sense of compassion. Now, I'm going to be really honest. Empathy and compassion have been often very underutilized capabilities for leaders, okay? It's not something that they've focused their energy and attention into. It may not be their sweet spot of delivery. So you may be seeing other leaders that are lacking that, or maybe you're seeing it played out really, really well. And I hope and trust that you are in some places, because compassion at this time is super, super important. Because what will happen otherwise is a lot of distraction instead of a lot of intention. And we really want leaders, teams, everyone to be working very intentionally at the moment, okay? Because if we can do that, it really helps the entire team shift the dial on where that business is functioning. Now, if you remember back up here, I talked about, back here, down it was, I talked about the stuck, the struggling, the stabilizing, the soaring. Okay, so if you think about where you're at, there are different elements of support that are going to be needed for the different stages of these business. Now, these two sections here, okay, these are what we call survival problems at the moment. These ones are more going to be growth problems, okay? Because these businesses down here are going to be asking right now, how do we survive? What can we be doing to survive? Whereas these businesses now are right, we've stabilized and we're going to grow. What do we need to be doing now in order to get that growth back? Okay, so the conversations that you're having within your business will be more specific around what is needed for the empowerment piece, what's needed for compassion, clarity, etc. Now, if you're watching the replay of this, I'm going to share with you, I've actually got some worksheets here. So I want you to print these out. I'm going to keep talking and drawing on the top of mine, But I want you to know that these worksheets are here for you to actually write your stuff down so that you can actually figure out a plan around this moving forward. And we'll come back to those pieces as well in a sec. So let's dig in here a little deeper, okay? Are you cool if we talk about some actual specific strategies around what's going on in here? Okay, and again, these are really, there might be one piece in here that stands out for you the most, so please grab that, okay? It will be enough to shift the dial for you enormously at the moment. All right, so I want you to think about, we want to get to empowered, okay? Here are a couple of the tools that I'll share with you. So, first one here, super, super important, is your endurance. Okay, and for that, I want you to think about your physical, your emotional, and bear with me and the pen here, your emotional, your mental and spiritual health. What have you got in place right now that's taking care of these needs? They're the walks, there's the meditation, there's the yoga, there's the bike riding, there's the just sitting in absolute silence, breathing techniques, okay? There's talking to friends, there's doing some art, being creative. There is so much, there's learning and study opportunities that you can be doing right now too. We've got a lot of leaders that are really focused and working, we're working together on learning a lot of these skill sets to upskill right now because people want to be able to serve and really support their team at times like these. So that's your endurance, okay? So what are you doing to take care of your endurance right now? Are you clear on that plan? Have you got that mapped out with routines and rituals and a structure in your day, remote day, or if you're in a distanced office environment that takes care of that, as well as evenings, mornings, night, etc. Now, the next piece around this is the brain dump. Okay, one of the most tricky things for a brain when it's feeling really weighed down, what makes it super heavy is that everything is in your head. Okay, so we have a brain dump worksheet, and that's really about you getting everything out of your head. Okay, a huge big brain dump so that you can clear it. So let's pop a little, get it out on paper. Okay, out of your brain. Okay, because all it's doing is taking up more space. Okay, third piece in here. So that's number one, number two, number three. Let's take a look at three. The stress fixer. Now, this is one of my faves. Remember before, really quickly, we talked about where you might be holding your stress. For some people, it's here on their shoulders. It could be chest, okay? It could be stomach. I want you to focus really quickly for a second. Where do you feel that? All right? And now I want you to give it a color. And I want you to notice what shape and size it is. Color, shape, size. And I want you now to notice that with that color, okay, with that size and shape, that it has a certain texture to it. You can actually feel it. And I want you to poke it. And now I want you to manipulate the color. Perhaps if it's black and dark and brown, maybe you can change its color. Is it a navy or a blue? Perhaps if it's hard and really big and lumpy, could you make it soft and squishy? And if you can make it soft and squishy, and you've made it blue already, perhaps now you could shift its color again. Is it purple? And is it softer? Is it almost like, you know, like kids' Play-Doh? And now give it that squishing feeling. And now I want you to notice that you can even make it more fluid. In fact, you could even make it like some confetti at the moment. It's becoming really light and loose, and the color's no longer purple. Perhaps you could even make the color of it now pinks and whites and yellows, all tiny little bits of confetti. That if you want to at any time, you have the choice to throw the confetti up into the air. And you'll notice now, when you feel your body again, that your shoulders feel a little lighter. Your chest feels a little bit lighter now too, and your stomach lighter again. You have the opportunity and choice to change what your body is feeling at any given time. This is a technique used by athletes, performers, entertainers, and successful leaders around the globe. So feel free to use this. It's the stress fixer, okay? To change the shape, the color, the size of stress within you. All right, let's move along. Trust that's really useful and a bit of fun, okay? It's really amazing what you can do. It works really well for headaches as well. So experiment with that one. And again, if you're watching the replay on this, please reach out to me and we can run this one for you personally. All right, now let's look at the clarity piece. What are some of the key strategies around helping you and team with clarity? Now, big one. So we're up to number 4 here. This one is really around your weekly comms plan. Okay, at the moment, is it a bit hit and miss, or do you have an actual plan around it? Okay, so exactly, is it 10 and 2s? Is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? How often are you meeting? Once a week? Are you really clear on that schedule, that plan? Because the communication piece, making sure that everyone knows how comms are getting to them, are they emails? Now, as leaders across the globe, we've seen a lot of confusion. Remember I talked about this confusion to compelling piece. What's really, really interesting at the moment is that if you look at what some of the governments have been doing, there has been so much confusion. Okay, the message really wasn't clear. And it's certainly not compelling in many countries either. So I want you to think about that within business, particularly if, let's say, you're in a management role and you have senior leaders above you. You have senior leaders in executive management positions. Not the word above, really hate saying that, but you know what I mean structurally. So I want you to think about your comms plan. And if you're not getting enough comms from your other leaders or from the organisation or community, what can you be doing to self-lead and reach out to drive a better communication plan? And on a weekly basis. Time is evolving very rapidly. Day to day, there are changes within organisations, regardless of where you're sitting, stuck, struggling, stabilising or soaring. Okay, so comms really need to be upped. There needs to be a really, really high level of communication. And trust me, this is a massive gig for most businesses at any given time, let alone now in time through crisis. Okay, so please ensure that you and the team have got a very, very scheduled plan, okay? Days of the week, and it's really, everybody knows, they're on the same page and it's clear. And I think a really important piece around this too, in terms of actually managing the remote team, is asking for their feedback. How much do they want? What's too much? What's just right? And you'll find, again, that may vary per team member. And interestingly, there was a big joke, well, you know, when this started, joke in inverted commas here, around how introverts would go being at home, that they'd love it, they'd be enjoying their silence, and the extroverts would actually struggle. You know what? We're seeing a balancing out where some of the introverts are actually finding it really tough because it is quieter than quiet and they're in their heads too much. So be mindful, it's not just about being an extrovert or introvert that's going to be impacted here. Okay, so that communication plan, the different tools you can be using, the apps, there's so much amazing technology now as ways of communicating. We're running all of our live trainings here on Zoom, and that's proving to be really fun with breakout rooms, dress up sessions. We're having lunch online as well, which is great because then we can support local restaurants and takeaways. Clients are doing some very cool stuff. They're doing like tours, so farming clients taking, you know, someone's out there with a phone, so they're showing the operations, they're doing recap on safety, there's training being able to be done. I'm doing a lot of human behaviour, as you can imagine, here online. So it's working, all right? It's really able to work right now. So the communication, there's no excuses for not communicating with team, so much as possible. Now let's check the second piece. And again, this is really to help you not go into overdrive around managing, okay? It's very, very important now to differentiate between managing people and leading people, all right? And a key piece to this is what we call the needs checklist, okay? Needs checklist. And there's 4 big ones right now to think about: certainty, variety, significance, and connection. The certainty is the piece around comfort, safety, support, okay? Are they getting that? The variety is around adventure, challenge, risk. Now, you'd think naturally there's been so much variety and uncertainty that people would be overloaded. So you do need to be aware around that. However, what's also happening with remote teams right now is suddenly the reality of this remote working environment is setting in. And for some, they love it, and others, it's not their cup of tea, okay? And maybe because the system had to move so quickly, the jobs, the roles, the tasks they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis might be becoming mundane. Things might be a little boring when there's not the energy and life of being with a team and in together. So the energy drops, people are becoming less productive and inefficient, okay, because that need for variety is not being met, okay? And it's a balance. You then don't want to obviously overload people right now with work, but it's around finding that happy place for each individual. So we all have different needs that motivate us and drive us more. Of those 4, okay, so that's a really great one to work with your team and check in. Are they more a certainty-driven person? Do they like more variety? The significance, that one is all about feeling valued, important. So how are you showing your team right now that you really value them and really care for them? And likewise, coming back to this, you can also overlay this for customers and clients right now. Those 4 needs are just as important for them as well. So if, for example, you're not meeting your customers' needs for certainty right now, they're going to feel really unloved, uncared for. They're going to be really like, whoa, what's going on? Are they a stuck business? Are they a struggling business? Okay, they need to know you're stabilizing. Okay, even if the cash flow situation is an issue, even if the business can't deliver right now, okay, even if you've had to let go of staff, please pull yourself up and out of those levels, those stages, and make sure that you're really working on the investment. Rather than cutting expenses, think about how can we be investing into what matters to meet these needs for our customers moving forward, because that's how you'll retain them. That's how when things do start again, when planes lift, you'll have relationships still. There are so many great things that you can be doing there by using that needs checklist. Now, this next piece, so that's 4, that's 5, and this is 6. I want you to think here about measures of success. Again, this is between you and the team. Measures of success. So it's going to be different based on your business. How do you track their productivity? How do you know what they're doing on a day-to-day basis? Have you got in place action plans, task plans, and then have you got measurements of success, completion to know? Now, there are some ways, and I want you to think about in here. Let's pop normally within an office, you can see who's doing stuff, can't you? It's pretty obvious. They're sitting across from you, you know, you're going to meetings, there's so much communication and visual. You hear things. Dodgy looking eye, isn't it? Let's go again on the eye. Here we go. All right. So then you can hear what's going on. All right. Then normally within the office place, you've got a feeling of it. You can actually touch things. You know, you're seeing reports, you're seeing data. Now with everything online, we're minimalizing our sensory experience and our sensory measures to how our team is tracking. So I want you to think about with this measures of success, how would you know that your team are going really well? Okay, what would you be seeing? What would you be hearing? And what would you be feeling and experiencing? Okay, may not necessarily be a physical tangible. So I want you then to think about, if I was touching it right now, if I could hold it, if I could see them, to be physically having some contact. I'm using hands really literally here. What would you be noticing? Okay, so think about your measures of success and what measurement tool or tools do you have in place now to track productivity and getting the job done, so that you don't have to feel like you're micromanaging. You don't need to be touching base all of the time when it could be over utilizing that skill to meet your need for certainty. Put some measures in place, and again, mutual agreement on those that work for team, okay, and work for the business as well. Now let's keep moving on to compassion. All right, so key pieces in here. Let's go. All right, for compassion. Oh, this one we talked about with a client not very long ago, before I got on this call on the Zoom here. We talked about many businesses have this a lot of expectation, okay? And I think it's a lot of judgment around setting expectations that need to be met, okay? And that people have got to meet them, rather than setting standards that can be matched. So this one, I want you to think about matching standards, okay? Now, remember, this is for right now. These are tools for you and the team right now. So do you guys need to sit back down virtually and talk about what are the standards that, as an entire company, a team of 2, team of 20, 200, what are the standards that we need to match? Because they're going to look and sound a little bit different right now, given the climate that we're currently in, the experiences that we're going through. So what are these standards right now? And set them together, okay, as whole team, not just management-led decision-making that then is expectation and judgment around how people should be performing, and the expectations. Because what happens when there's a lot of judgment and expectation, people may not live up to it. And quite frankly, right now at the moment, given the crisis that we're going through, here's another level I want you to really think about. You may have expectations of staff and their capability is not yet a match. Okay, because there are capabilities now that are being sorely tested. They're being stretched and required when there's been no development of certain skills. Some of that might be around effective listening. It might be working alone. It might be delegation skills. It could be collaborative skills. There are so many different skill sets right now. The multiplistic thinking, okay, when someone's in survival mode and they're really only able to think about self, their day, their job, they're not necessarily able to think about collaborating with whole team. They may not even feel like turning up right now onto a Zoom and joining a team talk. Okay, they are so inward right now because they might have kids at home, they might have husband or wife issues, there might be partner challenges right now. And so what that means is people might not be in the mindset, have the frame of thinking required, and capability work is required right now to help people, to support them through, to empower them, okay, and give them some structure around how to really create their day, their weeks, okay, and to learn to live in this environment, whether it's a short or a longer term period. We don't know that yet. We haven't got the answers, okay? It's a lot of uncertainty, but the one thing is certain is your ability as a leader right now to develop your team's capability and your own is crucial, because that is really what will help you and the team maximize the situations at the moment, okay? Maximize the opportunities rather than needing to minimize damage down the track, all right? Now, seventh, we need 8. Okay, let's talk number 8 here. Whoop, number 8. Okay, number 8 piece here around tricky team members. Now, tricky is just tricky, okay? I'm not saying they're good, bad, or ugly. Tricky is tricky. At the moment, you may just not have the skill or the knowledge or capability to read the code. And there is so much human behavior knowledge at the backbone of this, of understanding how and why humans do what they do. And there absolutely is a code. So I want you here to be really good at reading the code. Read the code. Now, that code, there are certain things going. We've got meta programs. They're our innate personality that are happening, okay? We're going to have different energy styles. We're going to have thinking styles, okay, that are at play. There is so much that you could really benefit from if you're able to read the code for your team members. And you'll notice there are similarities with people, and then there'll be one or two that are completely unique and seem quite standalone. There's not, there'll be other humans out on the planet doing it too right now, okay? So be very compassionate around this and understanding. And if you haven't yet learned some of these skills and don't have that in your toolkit right now, please upskill, okay? We've got some really great tools to help you understand your teams and read code right now. And it will really help you help them more, okay? And I think at the moment there is so much support and empathy needed around what's going on. Now, that was 8. So this is the 9th piece. This is the 9th and final strategy for the moment that I want you to consider. And as a compassionate leader, there are 2 pieces. I want you to be really brave, okay? And I want you to be heart-led. Yeah, let's go again with the heart. We're even going to mix up some colour. Let's get some red for the heart. Okay? I want you to be really brave. And I want you to lead with love. Okay? And that is heart space, because at the moment you have so much capability within your heart. We talk a lot about head. We'll think very mentally about things, very logically. We can think with gut instinct, okay? And I want you to really dial up your heart instinct right now. And for some leaders, that's not a natural comfort space, and it's not a necessarily easy thing to do, okay? Because maybe you weren't given a lot of nurture and love as a child, so it's not seen as something you need to be doing now. You might have been as a teenager, or even in the workplace, never shown really compassionate, shown by compassionate leaders, like you've not been led by compassionate leaders. Okay, I remember one of my very first bosses when I was only in my very early 20s, an incredibly compassionate guy. He was strong, he was firm, he was assertive, he led really well, and he had so much compassion, so much heart and care for his team. So they're the 9 pieces now. So what we're going to do is jump down from here. Let's take it down. I want to get you to put a little bit of work on. We'll leave the decider right now. Leadership decider is another tool, and that's all around you getting to choose right now. Okay, what place you want to play in. We want to have a quick look. The accelerator model are the 9 chunks of our program. There's lots in there. I want to give you, just because of time, I'm keeping an eye on the watch. I want you to give you the opportunity finder now. Let's work through this. So I want you to think about here for you. We have talked, and I'm filling this out for you to fill out when you're watching the recording. So this here is weighed down. And so back on, let's not do red, let's go back to some black. How you doing? Have a drink, actually. Let's all have a drink right now. Okay, so this one, we talked weighed down. Okay, so instead of being weighed down, what are your ideas? No, actually, let's not go ideas yet. Okay, we talked business impact, and we talked personal. Okay. Well, I then gave you the 3 strategies. So I want you to put those in here, 1, 2, 3. And then I want you to think about the mindset that we talked about and that fix for that. This one here would be removing micromanagement. Okay, and then again, I want you to think about it, how it's impacting your business. So this worksheet, we've talked about it up front here, bigger picture, but I want you now to actually work through this for yourself and go, okay, where are the opportunities that I now as leader can influence? What can I do to maximize opportunities now? And then this piece was dealing with tricky team members. Okay, and you'll already know which ones they are. It might just be one, could be a few, could be a whole department. So let's say you've got a larger organization that you're leading and there's certain teams that are quite siloed, not working well together. Or there's 1 or 2 team members that are then pulling down that team, impacting that team. So business impact, and then I want you to think about the personal impact for people on the team. And again, putting some strategies in here. These can be your strategies particularly to work through. Okay, and again, the mindset piece here and here. And mindset, I want you to think about why that's so important, because that's also culture. Okay, at the moment, for teams working remotely, socially distanced, whether they're closed at the moment or struggling to deliver at the moment, the mindset is really influencing. The individual mindset piece will be influencing the cultural piece across the business. Okay, so now any changes you can, any attention you can put to that to see a shift, shifting the dial, will have a really significant impact for individuals, for teams, for the business, for the customers, clients, you know, stakeholders. It's very, very important right now. So that's for you to play with as some home play, okay? Any questions? Please comment, message me once I've posted this up. Now, the other big piece that I want you to do is now really think about your maximizer plan, okay? How can you maximize this? And this one, I want you to have a little different perspective on. So you've thought some ideas up the top, a little bit of brainstorming, okay? I want you now, please, let's get some black again, please, is to think about, there's a smidgy. I want you to think about self. Self, okay? I want you to think about team. I want you to think about business. And then I want you to think about, now we say clients, customers, community, all of that. So let's put in here, just put client for the moment. You can put your language in there as what it is for you and your business. Okay, for some people it's members. So put yours in there. Now I want you to think about, to maximize the leadership focus, okay, for each of these, for self to lead better, for team to do it differently, for the business to really tweak and improve. It could be pivoting under pressure. Okay, what's the business's focus right now? And the leadership part of that. And then for the clients. And you can brainstorm some ideas in here. Okay, and then for each of those, break down your key actions, the actual action steps, the doing, the implementing from this video now, and put it into play. Okay, now getting hold of everything right now and doing all of it may be a little much. Okay, so here's a plan. Completely blank page. Can you please think about your top takeouts for today? Top takeouts, okay? And then your top 3 action steps. Because remember before I mentioned about just 1 or 2 of these things would really shift the dial, okay? So please, 1, 2, 3, and your top takeouts. If you can grab 3 of those as well and put those in here. Look back at these, refer to them, talk about this in team meetings. Okay, whether you're a team of 2, 20, 200, please jump on board, grab this, use it, share it, and absolutely reach out to me if you've got any questions. Please comment below for these worksheets as well in this recording, and I will message them to you, email them to you. Likewise, if you'd like to jump on a call and work through some actual individual situations that you've got going at the moment, whether you're stuck, stabilizing, struggling, soaring, okay, let's talk that through, because we really want to make sure that when those planes are lifted, okay, when lockdown is over, because there will be life after lockdown, it's going to look very different, really, really different. And we want to make sure that you are ready, that you've maximized the opportunities rather than focusing on minimizing damage right now. Let's see the opportunities, let's maximize them and make the most of them for you as a leader, for your teams, for the business and your communities, okay? Could even be your state, your as governments, okay? There's a lot of opportunity right now, and we really want to make sure that you as leader are able to take it. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it if you've stayed till now and watched. Thanks so much, and stay safe. Bye now.